Well, we had a lot of property to the north side of the park, and we had opened a very successful entity at the sister park, King's Dominion, in Richmond, Virginia, called Lion Country Safari. And we had a drive-through park, animal park down there. Families would come, drive their cars through the different velds, and they would see all these wonderful animals. And we decided to put that in at Kings Island, but we put a little different twist on it in the first year. We put a monorail through the area. So we had about 250 acres of property over on that north side that we utilized to put the Lion Country Safari, and it was very popular. It was one of the first attractions that had a surcharge. So you had your pay one price when you came to Kings Island, and then you paid another $1.50 or $2, whatever we charged back then, to get in Lion Country Safari. So it was a revenue attraction, and but it was a difficult attraction. The animals were very, it was like running a zoo, and it was very expensive, a lot of maintenance, caretaking, and after about 7 or 8 years, I think it had pretty much run its course. Those people who had come and ridden the ride really weren't repeat riding like we had hoped, and we needed the property for additional rides. That's where Top Gun and some of the other expansion went on into the area. So the Lion Country Safari area, actually, the animals went away, and so did the name after a year or so. Yeah, Timberwolf, the amphitheater, was an attempt, and a good attempt, to provide a concert facility for the park. It was okay. It never really launched into a major concert venue like standalone concert places had around the United States. But it drew a lot of acts. Concerts, again, ran their course. And as we got into the 80s, performers weren't coming to theme parks like they were in the 70s. In the 70s, it was a great way to meet your audience and come face to face with them. The business was changing. They weren't on the road quite as much. If they were on large facilities, and they were expensive. And concerts really were lost leaders. They brought people. Hopefully, they bought a Coke and some popcorn, ate a hot dog while they were there. But what it was costing us to pay an act became prohibitive. So it really kind of went downhill, and it was good while it lasted.
Timberwolf, we had a fun experience there working in merchandising. So we did what they called hawk the T-shirts. So the artists would come in, and we would usually sell their merchandise for them. We also usually worked along food service. One particular artist you might be interested in that loves Cincinnati, who the original Parrot Heads came out of, was Jimmy Buffett. So he would come sometimes 4 nights a week to come to Timberwolf. So we were actually at the very first concert when they first started coining the phrase Parrot Head, not Deadhead, Parrot Heads. And that was really at Timberwolf. So I can remember, selling T-shirts next to food service where they were making 5 gallons of margaritas at a time. So it truly was a party and continued to be a party until really Jimmy Buffett outgrew the concert venue there and had to move, to another place to hold more people. But that's really where the term Parrot Head came from for Jimmy Buffett, was at Timberwolf Amphitheater.
Screamin Demon was one of the first looping roller coasters. It was a launch coaster that began up on a platform, was launched off the platform by a pusher, went down through a loop, up to the other side of the platform, and then was pushed off again. You went backwards through the ride and back up to the other side. The drawback for that ride was that you had to walk up steps to get to that platform. So it was still very popular and lasted for a long time. One of the interesting things was when we built the Amphitheater Timberwolf, it was right behind the Screamin Demon. Well, the Screamin Demon was one of, if not the noisiest ride in the park. So every time that ride launched off, it bang, and you'd hear the go up the other side, boom, bang. And so if somebody was playing on the concert, you couldn't hear them. So we actually had to shut that ride down during concert periods. And it was removed later on when some other rides and expansion went into that area.
Over the years, the park has changed a little. Rides have come and gone, and new attractions have popped up.
The Winterfest was developed by Kings Island as a way to give back to the community. It was a fun event. It was a place where families could come up during the holiday season. They could ice skate. They could watch some Christmas shows. There was a lot of fun things in the different shops, and the kids could come up and visit with Santa Claus and do that kind of a thing. But the problem with Winterfest was it was a great idea and concept, but the weather so unpredictable in this part of the country where you could have a Friday or a Saturday, when you're open in the middle of December, and all of a sudden it's 60 degrees, and that created some problems with the ice. Or you could have the other extreme where maybe it was 5, 6, 7 degrees and just too cold for guests to come out and enjoy. So it was one of those things that was great in concept, but it was just so unpredictable with the weather to really make it the kind of event where you could consistently do it the way you wanted to. Waterworks opened in 1989, and the time had come for Kings Island to have a water park. Other theme parks around the country were, building water parks. If they weren't on property, they were pretty close. It's something that they were able to offer their guests, and the land was there to do it. And Kings Island decided to get in that game as well at that time. And the great thing about the water park, Kings Island, since it was connected to the park, was it could be included with park admission. And there was a couple ways they could transport guests in. They could take the train ride back and get dropped off at the water park, or they could enter from the parking lot if they just really wanted to start their day at the water park. And as the years went by, it was refurbished, became Boomerang Bay in 2004, and it was Australian themed, still is today. Right now it has more than 50 water activities, including 30 water slides. So it's one of the top water parks in the country, and it's also a place that there's something for everyone. It's got its own little area for the youngsters. It's got a wave pool. It's got some major throw rides, and it's just just a terrific place. You can spend the entire day there, or you can just spend some time either in the morning or in the evening. It's up to you. Fearfest opened in 2000, and the reason behind it was, the weather was really great in October. Kings Island normally closed the first weekend, and you could go a little bit deeper into the season, but you needed some kind of a draw because a lot of the guests had been to the park a number of times during the summer. So you wanted to give them something a little different kind of an experience. So that was developed, and it proved to be very, very popular at the beginning. And then other parks around the country started doing different kind of Halloween events, but Kings Island was one of the first parks to actually offer that kind of experience for park guests during the Halloween season. Last year we upgraded the event to Halloween Haunt. It became the biggest, baddest, largest scare-a-thon in the Midwest. We had twice the number of monsters. We went from maybe 150 as we had during the peak for Fearfest. There was more than 400 monsters roaming around the park last year. There's going to be almost 500 this year. The mazes became a lot more intense. The fear zones became a lot more intense. We went from still kind of being a fun place to still come and get scared, but changing it from Fearfest to Halloween Haunt, it became a situation where nothing off limits. So there was a lot of shock by our guests last year when they first came. They weren't expecting it to really be at the level it was. So if you're looking for the place to go during the Halloween season, where you're going to really have the best, the most scariest, most intense attraction, it's Halloween Haunt here at Kings Island.
Well, I can't tell you I've been there that much as a patron. I took a tour. I went around the perimeter of it. The park has to be at least twice the size of what it was when we opened in '72. That was my first impression. My second impression is I couldn't help be out there and not wonder what it would cost to build that park today. I mean, it's got to cost, I would think to buy that land, put that park up today, has got to be $500–600 million. So I was thinking of cost, I was thinking of size. I can't tell you much qualitatively. I'm in hopes that it doesn't become too commercial. It still retains some of the old things. I'm sure the park is clean. That's always critical. And I do nothing but wish it well, because it made money from the first hour it opened. It was a cash cow from the first hour. I have the dollar, the first guy that plunked down $1. I saved the dollar, I framed it, and I gave it to my son. But that park's been a cash cow from 1972 till last summer.
We've learned so much history contained in an amusement park that holds so many memories so close to our hearts. I hope you've enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at this amazing place we call Kings Island. I'm Nate Byram, and I'll see you at the bottom of the hill.
Cartoon friends with funny faces, Jinx and those little BC chases,
And you'll Bob the wacky racers
live in my TV. I'm friends with Fred, who yells out yabba dabba dabba doo. Who's a buddy Barney too? And Scooby Dooby, where are you? I love that mumbling bear, I laugh at him until I hurt. And when it's banana splits, you don't eat them for dessert.
Bristlehound is not a stranger. He saves lambs when in danger.
Yogi Bear outsmarts the ranger, all in my TV. Those happy friends who live in my TV. Cartoon friends with funny faces, Jinx and them their BC chases,
And he'll mob the wacky racers
live in my TV. I'm friends with Fred, who yells out yabba dabba dabba doo.
Was Buddy Barney too.
Scooby Dooby, where are you?
I love
That mumbling bear, I laugh at him until I hurt. And when it's banana splits, you don't eat them for dessert.
Bristlehound is not a stranger. He saves lambs when in danger.
Yogi Bear outsmarts that ranger, all in my TV. Them happy friends who live in my TV. Yakka dakka dakka doo doo. They live in my TV.